Simón, escucha, estamos en la lucha. Simón, escucha, estamos en la lucha.
This was the scene yesterday outside of the Legal Aid Justice Center's Falls Church office. Libre by Nexus was joined by several of their clients and their clients' families to protest the lawsuit filed by the Legal Aid Justice Center against Libre by Nexus, claiming that the Verona-based firm exploits their clients financially. Several current clients, including kids that were separated from their parents only to be reunited by Libre, were in attendance at the rally.
Estamos en la lucha. ¿Qué queremos? Libertad. ¿Qué necesitamos? Libertad.
While holding an American-born child of one of his clients, Nexus Services President and CEO Mike Donovan said the lawsuit is frivolous and full of falsehoods.
The lawsuit is full of lies and misinformation. As in his own words, the attorney that signed the lawsuit is on tape admitting that many of the claims that he's made are false. I think that my biggest problem is a lack of understanding of what really actually has to happen here. These immigrants are desperate for our help. They need the help of the Legal Aid Justice Center. They don't need threats from them. They don't need to be attacked by them. And they certainly don't need the Legal Aid Justice Center attacking the only organization that's liberating immigrants actively in immigration custody today. Legal Aid Justice Center isn't doing it. No other organization is doing it. It's only this organization. And until they can come up with a way to do it better, maybe they should focus on filing lawsuits that actually protect immigrants rather than hurt them.
While speaking to the crowd, Donovan said if the Legal Aid Justice Center's lawsuit is successful, thousands of his clients' bonds would be revoked and they would be locked up immediately and once again separated from their families.
That fight needs to be taken to Congress, and that fight needs to be taken to state legislatures across this country to ensure that immigrants' rights are protected, that immigrants have access to driver's licenses. But what doesn't make any sense is to spend time and energy to reincarcerate tens of thousands of people who were freed because someone did a job you can't do. Yes. Don't be jealous. There's plenty of room. You want to come sue the president? Come to our office. We'll give you a bunch of cases. We're overrun. So are you. But you're not doing anything about it. Everybody's overrun with cases of immigrants being horribly disaffected and disenfranchised and abused in this country. All of our organizations, every single one. We get dozens of calls a day. So do you. But they're not doing anything about it.
Donovan told rallygoers the lawyer behind the suit is uninformed and has no knowledge about what Libre does.
The attorney who signed this complaint against Libre by Nexus, one of the attorneys, is an attorney named Simon Sandoval-Moschenberg. Simon works in this office. Simon has been attacking our companies for 4 years. And for 4 years, I have requested a meeting with Simon Sandoval-Moschenberg. I was told by these people that in order to have a meeting with them to talk about their misperceptions of the company, that I had to provide them years of tax returns, financial statements, client lists, things that would violate our confidentiality policies as a company, just to take a meeting. Does that sound like someone who wants to learn about what they're talking about? No. Or does it sound like someone who is on such a bent agenda that they don't care what the truth is?
Donovan issued a challenge to Moschenberg to debate him on the issue of immigration.
I want to point out that the legal theories of the complaint are ridiculous. And I'm so confident in the complaint's frivolosity that I'm here talking to media about it, which is not generally what people advise defendants in civil actions to do. But I am so confident that this lawsuit is a complete and total joke and a disgrace that I'm happy to speak about it. More so than that, I've sent a letter today to the Legal Aid Justice Center and Simon Sandoval-Moschenberg, and I've asked him to join me at George Mason University this fall in a debate sponsored by the law school and perhaps the Mason Dreamers. Let's spend a couple hours, Simon, talking about these issues. If you actually think you know what's best for immigrants, then come educate me. and I'll come educate you about what we do. And you know what? Maybe we'll all learn a little bit. Maybe you'll continue to be a hack who wants to harm immigrants rather than help them, but at least you could come up, show up, and learn.
Mike Donovan released a video to the press pointing out key claims Sandoval-Moschenberg made in the lawsuit. However, Donovan has recordings of Sandoval-Moschenberg contradicting those claims, and he plays them in the video. That video will play immediately after this report, and it is also available and has been posted as a standalone video in its entirety on the Breaking Through Facebook page.
Humanos jamás serán vencidos. Derechos humanos jamás serán vencidos.
In Northern Virginia, Theodore, Whitelow, Breaking Through News.
Hi, I'm Mike Donovan, president of Nexus Services and Libre By Nexus. This is Simon Sandoval-Moschenberg with the Legal Aid Justice Center. In the most dire and desperate times for immigrants that this country has ever experienced, Simon recently decided to attack Libre By Nexus, a company exclusively dedicated to helping immigrants get out of detention, navigate challenging legal waters, and defend their inherent rights. Sometimes the things Simon says just plain don't make sense. Funny enough, even Simon seems to agree. Don't just take my word for it. For example, in his lawsuit, Simon says Nexus is a company that operates illegally. But in a recording obtained by Nexus, Simon also says,
well, both are bad for poor people, and both are generally legal in most states.
Nexus has helped reunite over 30,000 families across the United States. Yet rather than applaud our efforts or find an alternative solution, Simon pursues illogical and inconsistent lines of legal attack. Simon says the GPS devices used by Nexus are inhumane. But Simon also says,
a lot of the advocates I talk to think that this is just horrible. I have somewhat of a different take on it. I think that a consumer can consent to GPS tracking.
Simon says Nexus collaborates with ICE, when nothing could be further from the truth. But even Simon seems to acknowledge that, because he also said this.
Libre By Nexus does not have a back channel to ICE.
Simon says Nexus has contracts which are unclear and positions the company as a bail bondsman. But Simon also says this.
Libre By Nexus is not a bail bonding company.
No, I agree. We're not a bail bond company. I also don't think he should lie in a pleading to court. In addition to his penchant for appearing to lie in court documents, Simon has a knack for making ridiculous claims. For example, Simon says this.
You have to pay that $420 a month until you die.
What? That's false fear-mongering, and it's ridiculous. The average Nexus client makes no more than 8 payments, and our contracts have set terms with a specific number of payments that are required. In reference to immigrants, Simon says this.
The prospect of getting sued in civil court for breach of contract is really not high on their list of concerns.
I disagree. But honestly, that is so typical of an answer for a white liberal. I believe Simon doesn't care about these clients, any of them, or any other immigrant. He only cares about himself and any media outlet that he can get to pay attention to him. Simon also says this.
Even if your strategy there is ultimately unsuccessful and the person is redetained, you can use this as an opportunity to reduce the bond to something affordable.
And, shockingly, he says this.
I've seen people use GoFundMe to try to raise money for immigration bonds.
Does he think these are college kids at a spring break? These are moms and dads with kids who need their parents at home. They can't just chill for 7 days while Simon files a bond motion. Without the help of Nexus, 100% of these people would be languishing behind bars. You know, Simon and Donald Trump seem to have a lot in common. Neither of them seem to care about whether immigrants get thrown in dangerous detention centers, and both seem much more concerned about their own media popularity than the desperate immigrants fleeing violence who are desperately trying to make America home. Maybe Simon should spend 7 days in a detention center. I don't think he'd last 7 hours. And that's why I think it's particularly disgusting that he doesn't care if more immigrants are jailed by Trump's deportation machine. Simon and the legal aid firm he represents do not understand one fundamental issue. There is literally no other option for these immigrants who are in crisis. Their efforts would lead to the detention of tens of thousands of people and make it impossible for most immigrants to even get out of jail. They'd rather immigrants suffer and taxpayers foot the bill. Nexus stands ready to fight back against reckless attorneys who do not understand the terrible impact that their actions may have on desperate immigrants. We will wage war against those who would harm immigrants in this country, and as always, Nexus stands where injustice meets its match.